Well, it's, I think, appropriate yet again to comment on the state of free speech in Latvia because just a couple of days ago, on the 9th of May, we had some issues. The 9th of May is a day when parts of the Russian-speaking population of Latvia and the old Soviet war veterans that are still alive celebrate Victory Day. Now, of course, most Latvians don't see the 9th of May as Victory Day in the sense that Latvia was liberated from German occupation, but it was the beginning of a second 50-year long period of political and economic oppression. And the liberator on the 9th of May was none other than Joseph Stalin and his army. Nonetheless, the free speech issue that arose on the 9th of May was because of a certain Russian group that wanted to have a march from the center of the old town, or near the old town, across the bridge to the so-called Victory Monument, where already several thousand people gathered to commemorate this day and to lay flowers and to sing various old Russian battle songs, and apparently, judging from some of the videos, to drink quite a lot, to the point of being unable to properly hold their own flagpoles and such things. That, of course, been seen in earlier years. Well, the Riga City Council, under pressure from perhaps the more Latvian nationalist side of the political spectrum, decided to ban the march, but then a court, and I think the court acted correctly, decided that the march by this rather interesting-looking Russian group, there were people like dressed as Cossacks and waving various bizarre flags, that they should be permitted. And why shouldn't it be permitted? It should be permitted if you have freedom of speech and freedom of peaceful assembly. You do not judge what the content or the message of that march is. You simply allow it. At the same time, of course, the Latvian nationalists, some rather radical nationalists, decided to set out on their own and to attempt to lay a wreath made of barbed wire, a very symbolic kind of thing, at the Victory Monument, and to express their disagreement, their very strong disagreement with what was going on, or the way those events were being interpreted by the thousands of people gathered there. Again, I think that these people should have the right to counter-demonstrate, and that the counter-demonstration should be organized in such a way that police and any other necessary security forces keep the two sides apart and keep them from engaging in physical confrontation, but that there be a place, as there was when the Latvian veterans of the Latvian Legion marched on March 16th, that there was a place where people could express their disagreement with this. Well, rather than allow this counter-demonstration to take place, or even allow these people to walk as far as the Victory Monument, a number of radical nationalist activists were simply arrested and stopped on the street by the police. I think that was definitely a violation of elementary freedom of speech and assembly, and that there could have been a solution other than detaining these people and preventing them from going and expressing their views on what was going on at the Victory Monument in Riga. All of this just goes to show what kind of a hodgepodge of judicial decisions and police policy and public opinion as to what should be done exists on issues of free speech in Latvia, because we are, in less than a week, going to have the first Baltic Pride, which is an action by LGBT, which sort of covers the whole range of non-heterosexual people. They're going to have the first Baltic Pride. And then, of course, the same people, many of the nationalist radicals who want to, are so upset that their own march and attempts to counter-demonstrate were interfered with by the police, they're out there saying this march should be banned. And they're also out there saying that celebrating the 9th of May, historically inaccurate and bizarre as some of the interpretations of what the 9th of May means, should also be banned. I think Latvia has to seriously make up its mind whether it's committed to consistently protecting the rights of free speech and assembly for everyone, with the precondition that, of course, no one engage in violent confrontations, and that in cases where there are controversial issues, that there should be a place for people to counter-demonstrate to whatever that controversial issue is, and that this counter-demonstration should, again, of course, be protected from physical attack or confrontation with whatever the supporters of whatever the main issue is. Now, at both of the Pride events that have taken place so far in Latvia, this seems to have worked, because one year it was held inside a park, and the police kept counter-demonstrators, which there are quite a few outside, at bay. And on the 16th of March, as I mentioned, counter-demonstrators were there, but they did not engage in physical confrontation with the people marching to the Freedom Monument. Actually, that was a banned march. Again, that was a banned march where the police simply stood by and let everything happen. So I don't believe it should have been banned, but again, it made the whole system of permitting or not permitting public gatherings look rather silly back then. So I hope that after the 9th of May, and with the 16th of May coming up, and possibly other less politically charged events, possibly protests by teachers, by the police themselves, and everything else that may happen as a result of the economic crisis in Latvia, that we will see finally some kind of consistent policy, and hopefully very kind of broad and tolerant policy emerge on the right to publicly gather, to voice a viewpoint, even if it's an extreme viewpoint, and to also be able to stand by somewhere near those expressing this viewpoint and express opposition to it. Because that is what a democratic society is all about. It is not about picking whose opinions are right or whose opinions are more privileged. It is literally to ensure that there is a level playing field on the market of ideas, and of course that the representatives of these ideas do not switch from words and placards to fists and stones. Whether Latvia can do this remains to be seen.